Hello, everyone, and welcome to Grip Lock Foundation Disc Golf's weekly podcast. I'm Hunter, joined as always by Trevor and Konner.
Hey.
We've got a tournament to talk about.
Yes.
Disc golf is back.
Felt good, didn't it?
It happened.
Felt good.
But first, we're going to go over Patreon question of the week. We'll talk through a little Las Vegas challenge, do some way too early season predictions now that we've seen the field. Trevor's trivia will go down. There's a new Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship format that was announced. Called it. And Natalie Ryan has initiated a lawsuit against the PDGA and the Disc Golf Pro Tour. So pretty packed show. But let's kick it off with the Patreon question of the week. So our Patreon, the Heiser Club, if you haven't heard of it, basically you can go over to patreon.com/Foundation Disc Golf and learn more. But one of the perks that they get is a weekly podcast called The Mailbag, where they get to send in questions. It's actually been popping off recently.
It is very good time.
It's getting to be a pretty long podcast where we answer their deepest, darkest, intimate questions, give them a little behind
Always
the scenes
deep and dark
look.
and intimate. Yes.
And yeah, it's a good time. That happens every Friday. So if you want to get access to that, you can head over to patreon.com/Foundation Disc Golf. But the question of the week this week, I thought it was pretty on the nose, I guess you could say, from Justin McDaniel. He said, who do you think is going to get the most Elite Series and major wins this year on tour? So when we originally answered this, we had like one round of disc golf under our belt, like we had seen only one round. Now that we've seen an entire tournament, who do you think is going to get the most Elite Series and major wins this year on tour?
I got
easy answer, Calvin Heimberg.
Yeah, and I do have to say that it's a very tempting answer as well, because like there are certain players that if they get the monkey off their back early in the season and get that first win out of the way, you better watch out.
Did you see Calvin? I think Statmando tweeted it, his average stroke win.
It's tiny.
0.67.
Yeah, he doesn't win by a lot. He had never come back from more than 3 strokes down after any round in any tournament for a win. I was like, what? So, but I would say like there are certain, I don't know if Calvin is that guy. Like if Paul had won this early in the year, I'd be like, oh boy, people probably should be a little worried about that. But with Calvin winning, I don't know if it really changes. The problem with Rick is right now he's got this injury thing going on. So it's like he's a little up in the air because like he's somebody that I would have guessed. I think I said Gannon on that podcast. Gannon didn't play super well this week. I'll go ahead and take the easy answer and just say Calvin. I could see Calvin winning 3 or 4, and I could see that number being hard to top this year.
Yeah. After seeing the field, no one shocked me. So I'm going to just go with what I know and just go Ricky again.
Yeah.
He obviously wasn't there, so it's impossible to know what form he's in.
No Rick and no Dickerson.
There's also no Dickerson. But Chris, it's hard to win when you don't play all the events. Simon did it last year, though.
True facts.
But I'm going to go Rick. Mr. Kennedy?
I would say I have insider information on the statistics of of this year so far, and I'm going to have to say Calvin Heimberg just based off of the statistics that I've received personally.
FPO, it's too early to tell. I'm going to still just say Kristen.
I would as well.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense.
She wasn't.
I have this is the first year where MPO I really don't have a guess.
Yeah.
I really don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of players that can win.
That's kind of how it is these days, yeah.
So what I think like is going on with MPO at least is I think MPO this year more than ever, you're going to see your normal guys, the Calvin, Paul, Dickerson, Ricky, Eagle. I think Simon, we might be able to put as a normal guy, although he kind of was cheeks towards the end of this weekend.
It was cheeks.
But then I think you're going to have like course specialists show up.
Yeah. Like
Kevin Jones, Ezra Aderhold, Drew Gibson. I think they don't do as well if this isn't an open course.
Yeah.
So I think that's what like week in and week out. Before it was just like the top people all the time, but now I think it's like the top people plus people that are really good at courses.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like Isaac Robinson at Idlewild last year.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
So FPO wise, this past weekend we had Katrina Allen taking it down by 4 over Missy Gannon and Holland Hanley. Katrina Allen, I don't think ever lost control of this event ever. I think
very close to
on the Disc Golf Network. I think they said she got the lead on hole 1 of the first round and never gave it up. I think she did.
Yeah, she almost
she tried to give it up.
Yeah, she tried.
She tried very hard. She was 3 over through 10 in the final round. Damn. And if Missy Gannon or Ella Hansen could have just held it together and figured it out for like 1 or 2 more holes at a time, they probably would have won. For instance, on hole 10 and 11, hole 10, Missy Gannon took 3 strokes to bring it within, I believe it was 2 at that point. But then on the next hole, turned her drive over, went OB, and gave 2 strokes right back to Cat.
Yeah.
And Ella Hansen, there was multiple times where like, it was like, oh, if she makes this putt, it could be, and then she wouldn't make the putt.
Yeah.
It was very sad, to be honest, staying at home.
Yeah, it was. It was like, and this is like, unfortunately, this is sometimes can be a common theme I've seen in the FPO division is you get to the final day. And I think a lot of this has to do with just the lack of parity in the field. Like the field just isn't as deep. So like this is a symptom of that. Like you could say like obviously the MPO field, this won't happen as much just because of the sheer numbers. And so there will just inevitably be more guys that are going to have a great day. But that being said, what happens in these FPO final rounds, and like I said, it's a symptom of the numbers to start with, is you have these final rounds where somebody is in the lead, in this case, significant lead, and it just turns into this, okay, who wants to win type thing. Like, there was just nobody really that was in it in attack mode. Like, you saw Holland Hanley, but she was too far out of it. It was basically between, Henna was kind of up there, but it was towards the end, especially, it was Kat, Ella, and Missy. And, I mean, Kat was basically just trying to hand it to him, it seemed like at points, just making some careless mistakes out there. Got as close as Missy taking 3 shots on her, and then immediately just coughed it. Like every time that somebody would take one from her, they just cough it right back up.
Yeah, it was,
and it was just very frustrating to watch. Like I'd rather see
and
Katrina.
They coughed it up in some.
Oh,
to be frank, hideous ways.
Some bad mistakes, and this is the first event of the season. Tough conditions. There's a lot going on, but I'd rather see Katrina just dominate and cruise to the finish than okay, if she's gonna give up strokes, then that's entertaining. But then I don't want to see the people chasing her just kind of squander it.
Yeah,
and it just turned into like this like there was just a long stretch of golf where I was just like, what are they doing? Like, I don't know. It was something. It was a bumbling, stumbling, rumbling finish is what it was. They just kind of scraped their way to the finish line. But with that being said, Katrina Allen did what she had to do.
Yep.
So I can't wrong her. I felt like it was a can't lose tournament for her.
No, she definitely.
And she did her job and she got the win. So congratulations.
With Val Mandujano, Kristen Tatar, and Paige Pierce not there, Katrina Allen could not lose this weekend. And she did what she had to do.
Yeah, ultimately she took care of business, and that's all you can say about
now,
that.
Now you can obviously question, like, if she plays that same final round and you have Val, Kristen, and or Paige on her heels, does she still win? Doesn't matter.
Guess
they weren't
we'll never
there.
know. Yeah.
They weren't there, so it doesn't matter. Katrina Allen, though, coming into this weekend, it was a can't lose.
5-time Vegas winner.
It was kind of like, to be honest with you, it was kind of like when like Paul or someone shows up to like an A tier or a B tier, and it's like, yeah, you can't lose that. Like, no one else is there. You have to win. That was kind of what Katrina Allen just walked into this weekend. Mm-hmm. And now, hey, she has a Pro Tour win.
Got one under her belt.
There was also another storyline that, before we get to the MPO side, well, it's kind of MPO and FPO. A lot of weird breaks, especially during the final round.
Oh, my gosh.
I listed some of them here. Katrina Allen hit a golf cart and stayed OB. Kevin Jones stayed inbounds off of hitting the OB rope, which is very small.
That's just like crazy.
I don't even know how that happened, but it did. AB hit a volunteer that was standing in the middle of the fairway and fell into a hazard, both the volunteer and his disc. Paul hit a goose.
Yeah, the goose was sick.
And Kevin Jones' final drive got smashed by the wind, and then Calvin Heimberg's final drive, I mean, he used the force on that thing.
I've never seen anything like that,
all signs
dude.
pointed to that going back OB.
I've never seen Konner his last drive. So there on the hole 18 there's a short layup area and then water and then like a skinny landing area that's a little more aggressive, and it's a par 4. So if you hit that skinny landing area, you have a really good chance of getting up and down, whereas if you lay up, it's a very tough up and down.
What hole is this?
This is 18.
Okay, yeah.
And Calvin has the tee and goes and throws a shot that looks like it's on a good line, but it's looking a little bit short to carry the water. Mm-hmm. And it goes, I guess that cart path wasn't OB.
No, I thought it was.
Because he was shy of that. It'd be weird if that was playing like a river.
I thought, I'll look up the caddy book. The way they were talking on coverage, it seemed like
in any case, there was a like this much dirt on like a vertical like this, then cart path, then the fairway. He landed on that patch of dirt on a, like, it was tilted towards the water, just landed on it, and it just didn't move. It just stuck there. Oh my
gosh.
I've never seen anything like it this whole tournament. Nothing was staying where it was supposed to. It just stuck there, and he was in bounds.
Wow.
It was like from the first camera view, you just saw it go down
go
below
straight to the slot machines after that.
Yeah, you saw it go down beneath the hill, and then you saw a green flag, and I was like, how is that possible? That would be weird if that cart
That's
path
crazy.
was out.
I don't think the way you describe. I think I'm gonna look at the thing. I remember the cart path being.
I can find the shot again, but
because the cart path is right next to the water. But I can't read it. OB cart path and Pryor in front of the tee, left until rope.
there's dirt on the other side of the cart path. That's where he landed. He was not.
No, he was on this side. He was on the fairway side of the cart path.
That wouldn't make any sense then.
I promise you, that's where he landed.
I need to see it again.
I promise you that's where he landed. Because it was the cart path and it goes uphill to the fairway. And he dug into this side and flopped right there. Because he was going to have to run up across the cart path to throw.
Oh, yeah. Maybe it's just because I can't see the elevation. That's why I'm getting confused.
But I think this section of cart path, I can't read the freaking caddy book. This is the lowest quality PDF I've ever seen.
It was improbable.
I think the cart path was in bounds.
It was?
One of two holes on course where a portion of the cart path and Pryor/beyond is in bounds. 'Cause I think it says this section of cart path is in bounds. I think that's what that's saying. Because I think the OB of the cart path is there, and then once you get to this middle section,
that makes sense.
The cart path, but essentially what they were saying on coverage is like a little bit farther past this uphill, skipping in the water, most likely. Hitting the cart path, probably still skipping in the water.
Yeah.
It was basically like that hillside was all you could hit
he
to
had
dig
nothing.
in.
Yeah.
But it was because, I mean, there was such a windy...
Okay,
It was so windy on that final hole that, like, he had to give it a lot of height. So it was just coming in on the perfect angle. Because
this
that's
was
what you saw.
This is like a par 3, right?
Four.
Oh,
This is
par
where you
4,
saw
okay.
Kevin
Which one am I
Jones did the
thinking of?
opposite thing. Kevin Jones threw too low and just got smashed in the water. So the MPO results, you had Calvin Heimberg win over Ezra Aderhold and Kevin Jones. KJ... Very impressive performance, but all tournament very impressive performance. He was banging putts left and right. He even had to switch up his putt to a more spin putt because of the wind in the final round.
His putting was impressive.
It was a very impressive performance through the entire event, but mainly the final round down the stretch, he got so conservative. I think this was his play most of the tournament, which it's fine, but you got to change up your play situationally, in my opinion.
I see. I have a hard time deciphering these situations because we have them a lot in disc golf, and it's totally, this is just a sports thing. It's like a lot of times you see this with play calls in football where it's had this worked out for him, people would be saying, wow, it was smart to play conservative.
I still wouldn't have.
But I also wouldn't have, and my heart also always says, I see a spot where Calvin, it was hole 16 or 17. 17.
500-foot par 3.
On the long par 3, Calvin throws it, and he has a 45, 50-footer. He's been making those putts. Clearly, there's a chance that he could make birdie, and Kevin lays up playing for a maybe par. It's hard to get up and down in those winds with those greens.
I mean, this takes me back to Chris Dickerson, GMC.
Yeah, right. And so, you're basically just saying, okay, go ahead and beat me. You're kind of putting it in Calvin's hands instead of your own. And then he does a similar thing on 18. Or not on 18. He did a similar thing on, was it 16, the par 4, the long par 4?
I mean, all down the stretch he was doing it. It depends on what
the par 4, the
at.
888-foot par 4, which one was that, 16?
That's 16.
16. So on that one, similar thing, he lays up first and just says, all right, Calvin, go ahead and try and get him down and beat me. It was just a couple of opportunities there where, and maybe he just knew in his mind, and this is something I won't know because I didn't see him throw every shot on those holes throughout the whole event. But maybe he just knew, I just literally cannot birdie that hole, and then I can't really fault him. But I feel like I know Kevin Jones had the talent to make those throws.
He definitely.
And I just don't like the passive play there, and it clearly didn't pay off, especially when you're dealing with somebody like Calvin. There are certain players that you might be able to kind of make a move and be like, I don't think he's going to clutch up. I don't think he has it in him. Calvin Heimberg is a proven winner on tour and a guy who is pretty ice cold. So, I'm not ever going to say, yeah, I'll go ahead and just leave it up to Calvin to beat me because 9 times out of 10, Calvin's going to beat you. Yeah. So, yeah, I didn't like it. Like I said,
didn't pay off.
It's one of those things where it could have paid off for him. It just didn't. And I feel like if you go out playing aggressive, I don't know. It's a sucky situation to be in as a player.
Well,
it is.
Personally, the mindset I always would rather be in this type of situation is I want to be responsible for whether I won or lost.
Yeah, personally, I completely agree. You don't want to go home thinking, what if I had actually played for birdie?
You don't want to
I agree.
You don't right now, Kevin could be sitting there going, man, what if I would have went for it on hole 16? Right. What if I would have thrown the good drive on 17?
Yeah.
If you go You don't lose a stroke on 16 to Calvin because you go for the green. You gain a stroke on 17 on Calvin. Now you're up by 2 going to the final hole instead of tied.
But I mean, it goes both ways though, because what if he had gone for it and bogeyed it?
But
and then
in my opinion, it
just depends on how your play style is.
I personally always fall in the camp of I would rather lose than I'd rather play to win and lose than play to not lose and lose.
Yes,
you know
I would agree with that. I think that's the correct way to phrase it.
Because it's the same thing. Brody will disagree with me till he's blue in the face, but he's not going to change my mind on this. Chris Dickerson, GMC, hole 17, laid up last year. I think it was GMC last year, 2 years ago, whenever it was. Laid up a putt on 17 when he was running them. He was killing it all tournament. Lost all his momentum. Lost the tee to Rick. Lost the event to Rick. Yeah. And it's you don't want to put it in someone's hands like Calvin or Rick.
Yeah.
You don't want to be here you go. Right. It's your tournament to win or lose.
Yeah. I feel like I've just.
They're probably gonna win.
Yeah.
I feel like in disc golf, I have just seen too many of this side of things where this is and maybe I need people to point out examples where the guy who played safe down the stretch ended up winning. And I think there are scenarios where that might be the case, but I keep seeing this one happen, and maybe it just sticks out in my mind more. But if I keep seeing it, it's going to keep reinforcing my opinion that you should go out and take it.
No, I always think, especially disc golf, it's an aggressive sport. It is by nature. You need to be aggressive. You need a lot of birdies. You need
it always has been that way.
That's just especially in MPO, FPO. I fully understand Kevin Jones's play. That's what Christian Tatar did last year.
Yeah.
FPO, a lot of times you can take the stance of someone beat me and you're going to be on the right side of history.
Right.
MPO, that's not the case. There's too many people that if you're I'm going to make someone beat me, they're going to beat you.
Yeah.
There's too many of them.
Yeah.
Even this weekend, they're looking at this leaderboard, Kyle Klein, he shredded the final round. I don't think, same thing with Ezra Aderhold, I don't think they were really going to win.
No.
Ezra had one blemish, but people like Drew Gibson easily could have got there. Paul Macbeth, he fell apart a little bit. Easily could have got there. You scroll down, Eagle McMahon went on a 4-hole bogey stretch, then parred out. Easily could have got there. AB, 3-hole bogey stretch, parred out. There was a lot of players that through 9 or 10 holes, it wasn't a Calvin and Kevin show.
Right.
It was 4 or 5 people in it, and they were going back and forth.
Calvin just happened to be the one that actually finished the job from that pack, but when you have that pack there, you have to know that one of those guys is going to challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that maybe one of the only things is that that course does seem to sometimes punish an aggressive shot. So maybe he was just kind of waiting out and being if I just play safe, eventually they're going to get punished for playing aggressive and skip OB or something.
That was definitely his mindset.
I still don't think that it was smart, but
that was definitely his mindset. But like I said, like we were saying, it's just do you want to go for the win and lose, or try not to lose and lose? I don't know. And a lot of people hate this take and say, well, he's playing to his strengths and whatever. And I empathize with that because I totally get it. And I'm sure if I was Kevin Jones right now, I'd be fighting very hard for my case. Listen, guys, he might be saying things like, guys, I played those holes 10 times in practice and never even got close to birdieing them once. I did what was best for my chances. And I understand that, but I don't know. I just see some players, when you get to winning time, you just see a different side of them. And this a lot of the best players in the world, I feel get more aggressive the more it gets to winning time. And I see that out of a Calvin, out of a Paul, the guys that are like serial winners on tour, win a lot. They just go after it on those final events. And I think that's what separates them sometimes. And I think that it's tough though too when you're in Kevin Jones's shoes and you're a guy has struggled to win. He had a 913 days streak, I think it's been, since his last
something
tour, they said. And so
GMC.
Yeah, when you're in that spot and you're thinking I really need to win, it's hard to gamble with it. When you're a guy like Calvin, who wins every year on tour, when you're a guy like Paul, wins every year on tour, it's a lot easier to gamble with that situation because you find yourself there.
You're going to be back there again.
Exactly. So I think that's what it comes down to is you're Kevin Jones and you just don't want to gamble with position that you don't know if you'll have again.
Yeah.
So it's tough. It's tough. I empathize with him.
No, but it was an impressive performance overall by Kevin Jones. Literally, only the last few holes is even when you can even say anything because, even the first several holes, the front 11, he was playing almost as good as anyone out there, realistically. Some people were playing it better, but for the position he was in, he was hitting putts he needed to hit. His putt looked very solid overall. He did have a jump putt Jones patch on his bag, which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
But like, no, he looked solid. Like, he looked like the Kevin Jones that like you always picture in your head when someone says like Kevin Jones, and then like you watch him play or you watch his name fall down the leaderboard and you're like, man, I picture a different Kevin Jones.
The Kevin Jones that you want to see.
That was kind of what was here this weekend. It was like the Kevin Jones you expect. Yeah. And so, again, I feel like we always fall into this trap where you expect Kevin Jones to be able to just do this week in and week out because he can. But there's just something that holds him back. Because, like, could Kevin Jones be this year's Luke Humphreys? Like, could he be here? He pop off at Waco again, and then the only other time we mention his name is, man, remember when Kevin Jones had those 2 good tournaments?
Nah, dude. We'll talk about him in Jonesboro.
In Jonesboro. Every year I think he's going to win Jonesboro.
Well, he choked it away a little bit last year.
But that's what I'm saying. Is like, he has all the talent in the world. Like, he is like...
Yeah,
he's right up there where like he could be a household name with the Calvins, the Pauls.
He's got all the
Chris.
shots. He's got all the shots.
There's just something holding him back, and I think personally, he needs to play his game, play aggressive. He needs to change up something and see it pay off in a win, and then you get that confidence. Because that's what like Calvin and them have is like, you're right. Calvin doesn't have a lot of emotion out there, and I think the reason is like he knows he's going to be back in this position.
Right.
Like, it doesn't feel like I might never be here again moment. Whereas like some other guys get in that position and it's like, I have to capitalize. So there's way more pressure.
Yeah, that's such a real thing. Like there are so many disc golfers who will find their moment and think like, this is it. Like Robert Burridge, for example, last year when he was up against Simon in that duel. And you're thinking, if you're Robert Burridge, you're trying to hit those putts down the stretch and you're like, this is my moment. Like I can't squander this. Like when will this come again? Whereas like Simon, just what he was doing last year. Yeah. So it's just like, there is such a difference. It's really difficult to be the guy who is trying to deal with that and overcome it.
Yeah. Now another player that was pretty impressive until he wasn't was Anthony Barella.
Yeah.
Out there this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, we basically saw what we expect, which is very talented, not a good enough putter nor consistent enough.
He was for 3 rounds. He was there. The last round he just shot 1 under. And had he shot 7 under, he
still learning a bag and
win.
Playing out there in the wind. I think some shots did some things he didn't expect them to do, but it's also AB is a guy that like, his putt wasn't as good as it needs to be yet. And then we're playing at Vegas, which is a course that's going to suit his game dramatically suit his game in my mind. Take advantage of his distance. He knows how to play that terrain, plays in Arizona all the time. So I don't know if we're not really going to get right now. It just seems like, that's about what I expected. But we'll really find out more about him as the season goes on and if he is really going to be a force this year, because his tournament was not shocking at all to me.
No,
not in the slightest.
I agree. Now, one tournament that was pretty shocking to me because I thought this course plays really well to their game. They actually came out and they were in contention for a little bit, and now they find themselves in 47th place, is Simon Lizotte.
Yeah.
3 over on the final round. Very bad final round, to be quite honest. Actually, what happened on the 3rd round as well? Because surely couldn't have had a good 3rd round either to end up down there. Yeah, only 3 under. So mediocre 3rd round. They basically shot even over the last 2 rounds to end up at 13 under.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was up in the mix.
Oh, yeah.
During the first 2 rounds. Yeah. It was like, okay, Simon didn't really miss a beat. I was kind of in my head like, Simon or Eagle are winning this thing. Is what I was thinking the first few days.
Yeah.
And to this morning, I walked in and I like started scrolling, trying to find like, where did Simon end up? And I mean, he made the cut. So the worst he could have done was 49th, but he finished in 47th.
I'm telling you, I think... Yeah, I think what I saw out of a lot of players is like there's a reason why I think the 4-round tournament is the best, because there are some guys who hanging on for 4 rounds is just really tough to do. It's really tough for everybody, but for some people especially. And I think you saw that out of somebody like Simon, and you saw it out of a few other players where like that 4th round really kicked their butt a little bit. It's tough. Like that 4th round can just be tough mentally, especially if you have a not so great 3rd round. And now it's like, well, I'm kind of just here to try to move up the leaderboard a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think there's probably a little bit of that going on, but I don't know. I think that, he made the cut. He had some flashes of good things early in the tournament, so I don't think it's a complete failure for Simon. I think he probably learned a lot about his discs out there in the wind. So I'm not really going to jump to any conclusions there. There was him and Gannon were two that I was very surprised to see drop the way they did after the first few rounds. That always kind of shocks you a little bit because you're like, well, they've seen both the courses. What reason is there, like, other than just they had bad days? Like, they just didn't do anything. So yeah, too early to tell. And I don't think this course suits Simon's game, but I think being so exposed in the wind with all the disc angle and skipping and all that action, like, that was going to be tough for a new bag to handle. So we'll have to just see as things move on.
Now, coverage overall, I thought was pretty good.
It was awesome.
I thought it was great.
It was awesome.
Someone told me that they switched the provider that they're using.
I didn't get any blur, any buffer.
I did see some people were complaining that it dropped out for like all of hole 18. Someone said that, and I responded, I was like, I think it might have been your Wi-Fi, because mine was crystal clear all of hole 18, but then like tons of people were blowing me up my replies like, well, then how did it happen to me too? Here's my download speed. It happened to me too. I was like,
that didn't happen to me.
Maybe I got lucky. I don't know, because I had crystal clear coverage the entire time.
My coverage experience rocked.
The only problem I saw was they brought back the like leaderboard that was always showing the top 10. And it ruined the scores several times.
Updated, yeah.
Where like it would update, and I'd be like, "Oh, Paul birdied," and they're like, "All right, let's throw it over."
Yeah,
Paul's got a 55 footer. I'm like,
they got to stop doing that.
Oh, well, I know he hits this because you just updated.
Yeah.
There's not really a reason for that scoreboard to be there the whole time.
No.
Like, you can check UDisc if you want to see it, but also like just cut to it like before commercial breaks or whatever, and like they do a great job of every player. They have their score pop up.
Yeah.
Just do that.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And when the score popped up top, props to them. They had like where the leaders were sitting above it. So it was like a name. It showed their score, and then it said leaders 18.
Yeah.
That's all the context you need, because it would be like Paul Macbeth 16 under, and then I'd be like if you were like, oh, how far out is he? There's a little like pop up above that said leaders 18 under.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's 2 strokes
that
back.
is super frustrating when it updates. Or like if you're going to show it, just don't cut to what we know just happened, or even just at least admit to it. Just be like, so you may have seen Paul got a birdie. Let's go ahead and see how he did it. Like, at least admit to it so that it's not like we know what happened, Ian.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was great. One thing I noticed as well, the line from the communication from booth to field, I didn't see it mess up once, and the delay was a lot shorter.
The delay was better.
And Terry's voice sounded way better.
There was a few times where
and Terry's positioning was A+ as always.
All these signs point to possibly just really good cell phone service weekend.
Yes.
Possibly.
Yes.
So let's not get our hopes up too much.
Yeah.
Secondary, there was several times where, like, especially in the last round, lots of discs were getting very close to OB, and Ian always just like his go-to line's like, "Oh man, Terry."
Yeah.
Where'd it go, Terry? Just like ends it like that. I'm like, well, I'll be like get it, like just do something as far as like, oh, like we all know you didn't see it. So maybe just be like, man, that seems like it's really close to OB. We'll have to have Terry Miller down there take a look and let us know.
Yeah.
Or something like that. But he would just be like, Terry, talk to me. I'm like, I don't know. It just makes me feel weird.
It is there. It's getting better.
It definitely was getting
better.
The
delay between like, do we know a disc went out of bounds or not? I'll also say the replay was so money. They were so fast on getting replays. That was really good. The camera positioning, other than the fact that freaking AB was getting hit or hitting people with discs.
He didn't hit the cameraman. The cameraman.
Or I was a rangefinder guy. That's true.
Dodged the disc. It was the rangefinder man.
But they had like some good shots. I thought coverage was great. I was watching coverage like really proud of the product. I was really happy with it.
Yeah.
Like you said, we'll see what happens when they go into somewhere with worse cell reception. But
the
good start.
The first day free was received about how you'd expect. I think several people were very upset that they were like, where's the final round? Like, why can't I watch the final round free? We're like, well, no, you get the first round free. Like, you got to see the feature cards. Final rounds, you got to pay. And I saw a lot of people like, oh, great way to grow the sport, Pro Tour, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you got to look at it two ways, because, like, sure, people can't stumble on the live coverage about growing the sport. But is anyone really first time watching disc golf stumbling on the live coverage? Mm-hmm. Probably not. And what actually grows the sport? People just stumbling on live coverage when there's post-produced for them to stumble on, or people paying the people that are putting this product out there to be able to put out a better product.
The thing is, like, if you're a PDGA member, which means that it's only $5.99 a month,
something like that.
Like the product is very much good enough for that price. Like it is a really good time. You got a full weekend of like a ton of coverage.
You can also pay per round or per tournament.
Yeah.
If you're just like, I love GMC, but I hate the rest of the Pro Tour, you can just pay just for GMC or something.
It's live coverage has come a long
and
way. It's really good.
Post-produce was still next day for now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's forever going to be next day, but like that, the grow the sport model is like post-produce, just keep that being free. I think it should be a week delayed personally. We'll see if my prediction comes true there. We'll talk about a prediction that came true later today, but we'll see if that prediction comes true. But you still grow the sport that way. Like people will still stumble upon Jomez or Gatekeeper or whatever. And the final round being behind the paywall, like it makes more sense.
Yeah.
It just makes more sense. But
That's true.
Yeah, I thought the coverage overall was very good. There was one other thing I was going to mention about the coverage, but I don't remember what it was anymore. We won't even talk about Tournament Central. We'll let them figure that one out. If you watched it, you know. All right, let's get to some way too early season predictions. People tend to like when we did this previously, so we're going to bring it back.
Knee-jerk reactions.
We've seen what we needed to see to now lock in season predictions.
Yes.
My first one, I'll start it off. I think that Kevin Jones will not get a win this season unless he starts actually being aggressive down the stretch.
Fair enough.
I mean, I don't even know if that's a way too early season prediction. I think that's just like a common sense prediction to me. But hey, other people might think it's a wild take. And then my other way too early season prediction, this one I could be very wrong on, but after watching what I watched this weekend, I think there will only be one FPO winner outside of Val, Kristen, Paige, or Kat. But I don't think anyone outside of those four wins if they are all present at an event. I think if Val, Paige, Kristen, and Kat are all there, no one beats them.
That's interesting.
But I think throughout the year, one person outside of those four will win, but it's going to come at a tournament that not all four are there.
Okay.
That's
I think I've got a
seems
few.
to make sense.
I'll start with this one since it kind of ties in, and I'm going to say that Holland Hanley's going to get a win this year.
There she is. She's the one.
I think she could be that one. I think that she shows a lot of promise out there. Still developing player, new discs, shows some promise. So I think it should be interesting to watch this year. I think Eagle is going to struggle this year without a forehand. I think that
he did throw one. So my bet, I don't remember who I made the bet
Did he
with.
throw one?
He threw an approach shot, like round one or two.
Okay. I didn't see it.
I did lose that.
I think that just not having it at all as a crutch is going to. I'm not going to say he won't win this year because I bet he probably will, but he's going to struggle without the forehand, and I think that it is a shame because he should be kicking butt out there.
Would Eagle have won this weekend with a forehand?
I can't really say.
I'm going absolutely yes.
I can't really say.
There's like 5 or 6 holes that I
would have certainly
on, like,
helped.
Courses. So across the event, probably like 10 to 20 holes that I was like, Eagle would throw this whole forehand all day, every day, and probably be parked, and he was struggling to even get there. With the backhand, he was like turning over too much. I was like, there's a stroke. So
I mean, hole one was tough with him with the backhand. Like, I mean,
that's what I'm saying. There were several holes out there. I was like, that's an Eagle McMahon forehand guaranteed park.
The last thing I wrote is that AB and KJ look like they still can't close. So I'm just gonna say that if either of them have a lead, unless it's more than 3 strokes going into the final round, they're not keeping it.
So do you think either of them get a win this year?
No.
Mm-hmm.
I've got one, and it is that I don't think the Eagle is going to win this year. I think he's going to come close, but he's not going to.
You don't think he's going to get a single win?
I don't think he's going to get a single win. I think he's going to come close.
You remember what he did at European Open without a forehand, right?
He said what he said, dude.
Hey, I was just asking a question.
These are supposed to be, too early takes.
Said what he said.
Said what I said, meant what I said, and I said what I meant.
Look, you absolutely corded yourself.
Corded myself.
Get corded.
I got corded. All right, before we get into the fan favorite segment, Trevor's Trivia, I want to take a moment to shout out a feature on our site. If you haven't seen this yet, when you're shopping discs on our site, there's a way to now shop risk-free. It's called Foundation Care. Essentially, you add it to your cart, and you add it per disc. So every time you add Foundation Care to your cart, you have one disc of your order covered for 30 days. You can take it out to the course, try it, throw it, have your buddies throw it, see if you like it. If you don't like it, no worries. You just send an email to our customer support, let them know that you had Foundation Care and you want to cover this disc. We'll pay for the return shipping, and we'll pay to send you out a new replacement disc of whatever. So like, let's say you love the Thunderbird, but you're like, hey, Dave Dunapace this weekend on coverage. That's what I was going to talk about. Not Dave Dunapace, but I just remembered something. Dave Dunapace this weekend on coverage was telling me Savant's like a beat-in Thunderbird. I want to give that a try. Buy it. Use foundation care. It comes in. You're like, I don't know what this man was talking about. I hate this disc. No worries. Just send an email and exchange it for the Thunderbird that you know that you love. Boom.
Savant
foundation
is
care.
Sick.
What I was going to say this weekend, I noticed
the triple
on coverage,
window.
before we get to Trevor's trivia, now back to normal podcast stuff. I saw like manufacturers trying to be like use like subliminal marketing or subliminal messaging, but way too obvious.
Wait,
so,
what?
Like, so Discraft, for instance, they had several commercials of their players talking about their favorite discs, and at some point in all of them, they mentioned that like my favorite run actually is just the stock one. Like I love like Missy Gannon was like the Thrasher, and like my favorite ones I've ever gotten actually were the very first ones that were sent to me, like just the stock Thrasher. Paul was talking about like the PM line and the Athena, which that's his only available stock. Brody, I forget what Brody was talking about. The Vulture.
I don't think you can sell the Brody one.
And he was like to be honest with you, like the stock ones just right off the shelf are so consistent. I just love the stock ones. Paige was talking about the Passion, and same line. She was like, honestly, my favorite run of Passions, the stock ones. So I was like, okay, so Discraft is pretty obviously like pushing their stock, which I think that's a great, in my opinion, that's how all manufacturers should be going. Is like
we saw that
use
coming.
players to move your stock plastic, and we can get away from all the special tour series, limited edition, all of that runs because like
same disc,
and people can get them for cheaper.
Yeah.
So like you don't have people want to think, but then the other one, and this one I thought was like the Discraft one I watched and I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, okay. This one, but those were also in separate commercials. So that like subliminal marketing, I don't even know. The only reason I caught it was I thought it was weird. One of them, like the way they said the stock thing, I thought was weird.
Okay.
That was the only reason I caught that one. So that one was pretty good subliminal marketing. The other one was not very subliminal at all. It was very in your face, which was the Lone Star commercial.
Bro.
They had their entire team basically in like interview form tell you that their plastic, the reason it's good is like it's just like really good quality plastic.
Yeah.
And they just had all of them say it in different ways.
What?
Like they were like, you know what? To be honest with you, like all of them were like they're being interviewed. Like the reason I like Lone Star is like it's just really good quality plastic. Like it's just superior quality. And then like the next person would be like, it's just plastic like I've never felt. Like it's just superior quality. Like it's just really good quality plastic.
That ad
like,
was coming on strong, dude.
There was like 6 of them in a row.
Yeah.
And they were all just like, it's just superior quality. Like it's just like, and Nico, the way Nico said it, I actually like agreed with, because like superior plastic is very relative, right? Like I think Casa Plastic is some of the best plastic on the market. Right. I've heard some people feel K1 Soft and be like, this is gross. It's very relative what people like. But the way Nico put it, I was like, I fully agree with this statement. He was like, people at home, like if you threw the entire lineup, you're probably going to end up with a disc or two in your bag.
Yeah,
and I'm like, that is a very true statement. I think that's true for every company, but that is a very true statement of like, you're going to convince yourself you like something.
It is funny to have like, when you have like pro endorsements that like when you do a commercial like that and you have pros talking about your product, it's different. It's like, it's one thing if you've got Steph Curry talking about a electrolyte beverage, right? Where it's like, he's being paid to talk about it, but it's not like it's the Golden State Warriors that he's promoting. When you have like the whole Lone Star team basically telling you that their plastic is awesome,
it makes me think
it's like, a little like, well,
why
no,
are they having to tell me their plastic's awesome?
I think like if you're gonna have it's obviously like, I'm not an idiot. Like you're gonna have your pros do commercials, but like it's one thing to talk about how a disc flies and how it fits in their bag, because like they're it's a little more relatable. But like if you just have like every single pro tell me that their plastic's the best, like what it did
to me is it made me go, well, then, like, they must be getting a lot of complaints that their plastic sucks.
I don't know.
That's what it made me think.
I don't know.
I don't know if that's true. I like Lone Star's plastic. I got the Mockingbird in my bag.
Yeah, I like Lone Star.
But I was like, for that to be an idea behind
it was pretty heavy. It was pretty heavy.
A good idea. So, Lone Star, if you're listening to this, I don't know if you do or not. Here's my pitch to you for a commercial that sends the same message.
I can't wait.
Go out to an event, have people wipe the stamps of a bunch of different discs.
There you go.
And give it to people, blindfold them, have them feel it and say like, which one do you like the feel of more? And then just cherry pick the ones that pick your disc.
And then just like have the score count up or whatever.
Yeah. Then be like have the Warbird versus
you picked
Destroyer.
Lone Star. Have
a Mockingbird versus Leopard 3 or something. I don't know. Yeah. And have people feel it and be like, you know what? I think I like this one, feels way better in my hand.
That's
feels
a great
more comfortable,
idea.
blah, blah, blah.
This guy's
then
onto
like,
something.
Ding, ding,
Josh, if you're listening,
So
Get this guy on the horn.
Same exact message gets across.
Intellectual property claim, though?
Way less forced. No, that's free. That one's a free.
I would have collected a payday.
Way less
Charitable
forced.
man.
Yeah.
Because because I've seen those commercials where like they do blind taste tests in like Kroger and stuff.
That's awesome.
And every time I'm like, dang, dude, they think that's better than Gatorade or whatever. And every time it gets me.
Man, they think that's better than
Every time it gets
Gatorade.
me. And then I'm like, Hunter, you know that's cherry picked. Like, 99% of people that walk through are
Hunter,
like, this one's better.
We'll give you that idea. You just have to send me like 10 Warbirds.
There you go.
Nope.
And you know what?
That was acceptance.
Trevor will actually do the commercial for you with those 10 Warbirds.
I would do the commercial for you guys.
Dude, unironically,
Can I get? Oh my gosh,
Warbird
please!
in my bag, such a good disc.
Put it in your bag?
If
It's
anybody,
just a very consistent, overstable destroyer. It's so good.
If anybody watching this has any kind of pull to do commercials on the Pro Tour, please let me help you. I'll be in a commercial. I'd be tickled pink to be in a commercial, as long as it doesn't promote another retailer. But I will push the heck out of Lone Star, man. You want me to get on one of those polos and get in that dark room and be like, this plastic changed my life? I'll do it. That'd be pretty funny if they just threw me in the middle of all those pros.
It's like with a tear
And I was
rolling
just,
down your face.
I'm just like crying. I'm like,
should that be a tweet?
oh my
We edit
gosh,
ourselves
bro.
into it.
That'd be so
We just
funny.
have all of
gosh,
it, and then it's
that's
just like Trevor
hilarious.
Noah's like,
Your face is just like
My-
red from crying.
I never shot over 850 rated, and then I put the Mockingbird in my bag, and the superior quality in flight, man.
This disc saved my life. That's funny. We got to start editing ourselves into commercials more. That's funny.
Very funny.
All right.
All right, it's time for the fan favorite segment, Trevor's Trivia.
All right. Just a little quick trivia question for you.
Yep, just a quick one.
So Calvin's win on the Pro Tour just took the spot of his earliest Pro Tour win in a season ever. He's never won on the Pro Tour earlier than
This
that,
early.
ever. Pro Tour wins only. Which
What do you
event
mean by earlier? Like, what we
in
talking
the,
like
earlier in the season?
months?
Calendar to the day.
calendar? Okay.
Yeah, calendar year in the season. Which Pro Tour event, when and what event was it, did he take over? It was only by a few days. He had one win that was previously his earliest, and he just took this one over by a few days.
And it's Pro Tour win,
It is a Pro Tour win.
and you're not counting the All Star event.
Nope.
How is it not Vegas? He's won this event before. Well, I guess maybe when he won Vegas, it wasn't a Pro Tour. Must be what Trevor's saying. I don't think Calvin's won Waco, but what else would have happened this early? Calvin must have won Memorial when it was a Pro Tour event. Memorial.
What year?
Oh, you want me to say the year?
Yeah.
The Memorial left the Pro Tour in 2020.
I was about to say,
I'm going to go 2019. Memorial.
All right.
2020 Memorial.
Oh, so it was 2020. I didn't know if it left in 2020.
The February
2021.
27th through March 1st. He had one Vegas, but it was not a Pro Tour. So there
Good
you
question,
go.
Trevor. Great job, buddy.
Just the things I do, you know?
All
Your
right.
train of thought was good, though. Good train of thought.
Yeah, I got there.
You got there.
I didn't know I was going to have the year he won,
Well, you know us, man.
but it wouldn't matter. I had no idea. I couldn't remember when the Memorial, because the Memorial wasn't there in 2021 then. So
Correct.
he won the last time the Memorial was
won,
put.
yes.
So I had that even right.
Yeah.
I just couldn't remember if it was 2020
You
or
were
2019.
almost so smart.
I was so close to so smart. Yeah, because Waco was when COVID shut down the Pro Tour.
Mm-hmm.
They ended Waco like after round 2.
Yeah, we thought that season was just going to be...
We thought the season was a wash. It was over. Were you on the... No, you weren't on Grip Lock yet.
Not
that
till that
happened.
summer.
Yeah. Wow. That's been a fast 3 years, huh?
Yep.
Okay. The Pro Tour has announced updates to the Tour Championship format and end of season awards.
Somebody talked about this before.
Yeah, someone had
Wait
this
a
idea.
second.
So the
It
Pro
really
Tour
wasn't us.
Championship.
It was the PGA Tour. But
Yeah, but we said it. should
we
come.
said it.
We said it. Give us credit. The Pro Tour Championship will maintain its stroke play format, but will have 2 distinct halves. not a big fan of the halves thing. I'll talk about that in a second, but I'll explain what it's going to happen. So the semifinals and the finals will have 2 rounds each for a total of 4 rounds. So let's talk the semifinals first. So all players who qualify for this event will compete in a 2-round semifinal. Instead of receiving buys in later rounds, players will be given a number of starting strokes at the beginning of the semifinals based on their seed as determined by Pro Tour point standing. After the first 2 rounds, the field will be cut. The top 12 men and 8 women will advance to the finals. Any ties will be broken by seed. So the stroke advantage goes as follows. Whoever is in first in the Pro Tour points will have a 6-stroke advantage. Whoever's in second will have a 5-stroke advantage. Third and fourth will have a 4-stroke. 5th through 8th will have 3 strokes. 9th through 16th, 2 strokes. 17th through 24th, 1 stroke. And then 25th through 32nd, 0. On FPO, first will have 5 strokes, second 4 strokes, third and fourth 3 strokes, 5th through 8th 2 strokes, 9th through 12th 1 stroke, 13th through 20 0 strokes.
Which is essentially their starting position. Think of it like first place will start at 6 under par.
Yeah.
And the people in last will start at even.
Yeah. So then they have 2 rounds to get to the top 12. So top 12 men, top 8 women will advance to the finals. So after the second round and the accompanying field cut, all scores will reset to 0. Players will then compete over 2 rounds of regular stroke play to decide as champion with no stroke advantage based on seeds.
Yep.
So this allows for players, as Jeff Spring said, the alterations of the 2022 championship allow for players to all start competition together in a 2-round semifinal, but retains the advantage that players have earned throughout the season by awarding them starting strokes based on seeding. Fans will now get to watch the best players in the world starting in round 1, with each round continuing to bring consequential excitement. With advancing players, scores reset to even par. We expect 2-round final to bring a new level of excitement to the event while aligning more closely with the multi-round events that the Pro Tour runs throughout the season. So to me, it's a no-brainer move because now, more than likely, you're going to have your top players play all 4 days,
right?
Which is what you want. For coverage.
And you take away the disadvantage, to quote unquote, where you're not going to have your top players having to deal with players that are hot. Yeah, everybody starts at the same time, and that's the biggest importance here.
Yeah. Now, personally, I would like the stroke advantage to be more severe and last all 4 rounds, personally.
Why do you think it needs to be more severe?
Well, because first to second is 6 to 5 strokes. So that's not across 4 rounds. It's not really anything. And
I mean, it's a stroke. Could be the decide. I mean, does the PGA Tour do more than 1 stroke?
I don't know what the PGA Tour does. I'm just saying what I would personally like. I would because I would just like that to be again, the tour champion is what people are going to remember. Mm-hmm. Last year, luckily, the tour champion and the person who had the most points were the same person.
But you can't just walk them to the finish line.
You don't want to give it to them, but you want to make it where it's hard for them to lose it, in my opinion.
I don't know. I think you give them a head start. You're giving you a stroke on the second best player and a lot of strokes on the people down the line. And then what I disagree with, what I think they should do,
regardless, I think it should be all 4 rounds.
Yeah, I don't agree with the reset. I think that very much plays what you're saying. Because I think that to me makes, I understand what they want. Of course they want, hey, we're going to give you help to get to the cut line, but then we really want it to be even. But like you said, the stroke advantage isn't that severe. I have a hard time believing we're going to get to the end of the second round and be well, it's a runaway show. Thank goodness the scores reset. I think you have almost more of a chance of there being a runaway show when you reset the scores. Yeah. I don't... Yeah, that doesn't really make any sense to me. That seems like a bit of a cop-out or a compromise they were trying to make that I don't think anybody really would have cared.
Because I think you want the tour, in my opinion, you want the tour champion to most likely be the best player of the entire year, in my opinion. Because the title's tour champion. You won the tour championship. But it's just... I like the stroke advantage.
Well, it's just not the type of event they're trying to run, though. That's not what...
I agree with that statement. Then it shouldn't be called the tour championship. Is what I'm saying.
Well, they're copying golf, and golf is the same way. They give that person help, but the point of the event is not for the person to finish first in the standings and win.
But they're only given.
You're thinking of it like regular season champion.
You agree with me? They shouldn't have the
cut.
Stroke reset.
But I'm just saying, the way you're thinking of the event is you're thinking of it there's a regular season champion. That's a really hard thing to do, so that person should be awarded. Whereas the way that golf has thought about it and the way that disc golf is thinking about it as that event is basically just you're not playing for a regular season championship. You're playing for your starting spot. And then you go into a tournament that happens to utilize that starting spot. It's a weird thing to work out because of the fact that the regular season thing is the hardest thing to do. But I'm just saying that's what they're modeling it after.
Well, they're modeling after the FedEx Cup, right?
Mm-hmm. Because the FedEx Cup, I don't think that person in first gets any more than 1 stroke over second, but they do obviously keep it in place.
What would I be looking for? Scoring head start? Why did I just English just lost my mind? Starting strokes is what I was trying to search for. I just want to see what the starting strokes are. Is there a way to do that?
Because the bottom line is the Tour Championship, you want to be an exciting tournament, and I think you just don't want to. It's a frustrating thing, I guess, because you're that player. I think that the player who finishes first in the Tour or the regular season should maybe get a bonus.
Yeah, they have a 2-stroke. So you start at 10 under par, 8 under, 6 under, 5, 4, 3, 2.
And I'd be fine with that.
And even par down.
I'd be fine with that.
But the biggest thing to me is Scotty Scheffler, who was the leader going into it. I don't even think he won this past year, but he had 10 strokes on the people at the bottom, even par. Whereas in disc golf, which is a more, maybe not, but disc golf, I think
disc golf is much less volatile.
It depends on the course. 6 to 0. 6 strokes across 4 rounds is a lot different than 10 strokes across 4 rounds.
Yeah, but golf is way more volatile.
But it's also 6 strokes across 2 rounds because they're not going all 4. But it's a step in the right direction. It's a lot better than the bracket.
Yes, it's much better than the bracket.
You have people playing all 4. Now, disc golfers were upset about the change. And I've always said, and here's the thing:
I've always said that the bracket format,
it's exciting.
It was exciting. It was hard to follow a little bit because there was just so much going on, and they were all in their individual sections. That's what made it hard to follow. Was it's this now puts everybody in one field. That's just a little bit easier to grasp. And I also didn't feel it was very fair, but it was very entertaining. I'll give it that. So I understand why people are what the heck? But at the end of the day, this is still going to be. I don't know, it'll be more of a truer ending, I suppose, and also it'll still be good.
And it's more sellable because you have the top players playing all 4 days, which I think is a big thing.
Potentially.
Well, most likely. You at least have them playing the first 2 days.
You definitely have them playing the first 2 days, yes.
Yeah, and most likely you have them playing all 4 days. Because the other thing, too, is I think the reason I want a stronger stroke advantage is the difference. I want the playoffs to mean something to the top. I want people jockeying for position to care.
Yeah.
This makes you care a little bit more because if you're in 5th versus 1st, yeah, that's 3-stroke difference. But I want that to be mean a little bit more.
Yeah.
Is why that's where
I just
my
don't.
head's
I think the problem is I think that is never going to happen. I don't think that
I'm happy with 10, 8, 6, 5. If you're in 4th place, you're 5-stroke difference. If you're in 4th place here, you're 2-stroke different.
Yeah.
That to me is I wish it was a little bit more severe.
Yeah. I don't know. From what I know of following golf, the playoff events are more so about getting to the next one. That's where they make the drama is not usually about jockeying for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in my mind.
No, but it's at least a storyline.
It's a storyline, but
now it's no storyline.
I think the playoffs will only get really exciting when the field is deep enough that you're people are just scrapping to get into actually make it to the next event, which right now making it to the Tour Championship is a thing because that's only the top 32. But those first couple events, it's almost the whole field is going to stay in. So
now overall though, good change overall.
It's a good. It's definitely a good.
It's definitely a step in the right direction. Knowing the Pro Tour, that's what it is. It's a step, and we'll probably see another step in a year or two.
Yeah,
where it will be all 4 rounds.
They'll just have to see how it plays out.
Because I think the Pro Tour tends to always the tour cards, for instance.
Yeah, they hedge their bets.
A few years back, you remember they had the tour pass, and they randomly changed the name to tour card.
I'm certainly impressed with this move because.
But then now tour cards are actually a thing.
I'm impressed with this move because they knew they were going to get some bad feedback on this one. People like brackets. I like brackets. I see brackets. I get excited. March Madness coming up.
They should just have an exhibition event using that format.
Who would play it? Gotta have money, I guess.
Gotta have money. People showed up for the All-Star event.
What's the purse going to be?
I don't know. They didn't say that yet. They probably don't know yet. End of season awards, they also updated the criteria. Player of the year can now very easily be rigged. This award will be determined by a split vote between media and the Pro Tour 50-50. I'm trying to remember last year what it was.
We need to find that, I think, before we comment further.
Because we might have been this last year.
But I don't think it was 50% to the media. And if it wasn't, and if this is a change, then it seems like a bad one to me. And I'm very tempted to get this entire podcast to vote for somebody just absurd. Now, I will say on the ballot, they're not going to have every player.
No, surely.
But
maybe
if they do, that's even funnier. And also, even if they don't, like, I think it would be...
Yeah, so player of the year last year was 33% media, 33% tour points, and 33%...
Why did they take that part out?
It was 33% media, 33% tour points, and 33% average finish at majors and tour championships.
Oh my gosh. So why the heck...
There was no fan vote.
That's so dumb. Oh my gosh. So last year it made a whole lot of sense.
Last year, that's why it was like, yeah, this is going to go to the best player.
Yeah,
now
this
it's 50%,
is so stupid.
50%.
You took out the two aspects that were objective, and you just added in the most subjective vote from the fans.
Because last year,
all right, well,
very easily Simon Lozano.
Are we doing this? Are we doing this?
No, not yet.
Well, we'll wait, but we might be doing this. We might have to teach a little lesson and get somebody criminal to win Player of the Year, because that they cannot be allowed to get away with that. Why? You had the two most objective things that you could put in the criteria to like guarantee that it made sense. And now you just left it up to just subjective voting. And like the media vote, okay, yeah, it's gonna be some trusted people, sure, whatever. But the fan vote, man, that's anybody. Like,
where did you say fan vote? Tour card players, 50%. You're the one who told me fan, and I just didn't even pay attention.
You didn't. You just read fan vote.
I just said 50% because that's what you told me the other day. No, it's tour card players, 50-50.
Well, everything we just said is a lie.
Everything we just said is a lie. Well, not everything we just said is a lie.
Did it not say that in the original
No, I'm looking at their announcement.
Post?
You just told me fan vote and got me riled up the other day. And then I just didn't even... I was like, yeah, here we go. Time to rile the crowd up.
I'm going to have to find...
And then I looked back down. I was like, why did it say tour card players?
I'm going to have to find the email because I'm almost
I still don't like it,
certain that I...
But it's a heck of a lot better.
Well, I don't mind it now. Well, as much. But
I still like the objective.
Did I see it in an email? Because I'm almost... I mean, I don't see how I could have read Pro Tour card holder and,
it says DGPT tour card players.
And gotten fan votes. I wonder if they made a typo.
Everything we just said. Well, unless Trevor's email says something.
Let me find it, because like there's no way that I
don't know. I just know
wrong.
You got me riled up the other day when you said fan vote.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, how on earth could I have read?
I'm glad I caught that. Imagine we did this whole podcast and every comment was like, "You idiots! It's tour card players, not fan vote."
Was it in an email? Where did this come to us?
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about, man. It came to me through you.
I need to find this now. This is very important.
Maybe on Twitter. Check Twitter.
Well, but that could have been deleted. I need something that couldn't have been deleted. Or else now I'm just going to feel like a crazy person.
Maybe it was on Ulti World?
Potentially.
I think Trevor might be a crazy person. Trevor's crazy until proven sane.
Please, somebody. I need this.
Maybe you just saw a 50% vote and you thought it was a fan vote.
No, there's no way. There's no way I would have just read that wrong.
Big updates, the Pro Tour, read more.
There's just no way. Come on. Where did I see this?
I don't know. I just looked at that post. It doesn't even mention anything about the end of the year awards.
No, it's like right at click, go to the...
This is the post they made.
No, it would have been the Ulti World article maybe that I saw it. And it was like it was like snuck in at the bottom.
Let me go back to the Ulti World article. Discgolf.ultiworld.com. Pro Tour announces end of season, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, there it is. There it is. Player of the Year will be solely decided based on a 50-50 share of fan and media votes.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, bro. So Ulti World perjured themselves.
All right. Ulti World.
Everybody clap it up for my journalism. Thank goodness, dude. I thought I was going crazy. I knew how could I have read that wrong?
Player of the Year and Rookie of the Year will be decided solely based on 50-50 share of fan and media
So
votes.
who was it? Who wrote that? Was it Eisenhood, that dog? Who wrote that?
By Ulti World Disc Golf staff. So.
Oh, wow. They're anonymous.
They're anonymous.
Okay. Well, first of all, I take back what I said. I'm still a little frustrated at the Pro Tour because I think I like giving the players a vote, but I don't know about the 50-50 situation. That's a little... But I'm not as mad as I would have been. And also, Ulti World, thanks a lot for making me look like a doofus on air. I feel like more people probably read the Ulti World article than the one we just read, though. There was a comment
on there that was like, I really don't like the change for the fan vote, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Well, it's a Pro Tour card player.
Oh, my gosh, dude.
They get 50% of
that. Is...
I was like bamboozled when I read it. I was like, did I have a stroke when I read this?
I swear, dude. I didn't know I could have misread that.
Rookie of the Year, to be eligible, a player must not have played more than 3 combined Pro Tour Elite Series events, PGA National Tour events, or PGA Professional Majors in a single previous season. Players who have competed 2 or more PGA Majors in a single previous season will also be ineligible for the award. What? Doesn't matter. Oh, I guess the first one's combined. The second one's just if you played like 2 majors in a season. This award will be determined by a split vote between fan and media members, 50-50. Tiebreakers, Pro Tour points. So that's the Rookie of the Year's fan and media member split.
Which, that's whatever. That's fine.
Rookie of the Year is fine.
I don't really care. Just
should have won Simon. No, most improved should win Simon, man. This most improved is determined by a split vote fan and media. All rookies are now ineligible for this award. Makes sense. Comeback Player of the Year, new award.
Did we have a Comeback Player of the Year?
I think we just said that it should have been Simon.
Yeah, I'm trying.
We might have. Did we give Simon most improved?
But it kind of was.
Oh, because I think who got most improved?
Gannon. Who's Gannon?
Yeah, I think Simon should have been Comeback Player of the Year.
They invented a new award to fill the void.
Yeah, this new award is intended to recognize a player who either returned from injury, busted a career slump with a strong season, returned to a full tour life after a life event, or otherwise returned to the top of their game after being off the scene for a period of time. It'll be determined by a split vote between fans and media members who have voted on a list of no more than 5 competitors who will be nominated by Pro Tour card players. Then there'll also be votes. First card All-Stars awarded to top 4 players at Pro Tour point standings into the season. Second and third card All-Stars, 8 players will be determined by a 3-factor calculation comparison: fan votes, media member votes, and Pro Tour point standings.
Listen, I've said this probably now every year that we talk about the awards, but please do like even a small red carpet event and let me be the host. So I want to do it so badly. It's like my dream. If I could host the first ever, surely eventually we'll have a disc golf award.
The Grippies.
We have the Grippies. I already get to host that, co-host. But
you
if
want me to
there's,
let you host it this year completely?
No, I like being the co-host of this one. It's too big to handle. But the Pro Tour Awards would be a good start to my career. If there's a first ever Disc Golf Pro Tour award show, I need people to have my back that I said I want to host it, and I really think I could do a good job. And also, I just want to see...
Audition right now.
Nope.
Good.
I don't want to give up my material.
Smart.
I just want to see all of the disc golfers dress up for a red carpet event. Even if you just want to do it virtual, like they do everything virtual these days.
No, take it back.
Even if they want to do it virtual, I'll take it. I'll still take the hosting gig.
Virtual wouldn't.
I want an envelope.
You got to feed off the audience.
I want an envelope, and I want to be able to open it
style.
And say, like, Comeback Player of the Year, Missy
I think
Gannon.
we have Drew Gibson do stand up to open for you.
I agree. That's good. But how funny would that be, man? Like, I want it so bad. I want a red carpet disc golf event. I dream of it. It'll be so funny.
Final topic on Grip Lock.
We can do it in a high school auditorium for all I care.
Natalie Ryan has filed a complaint against the Disc Golf Pro Tour.
Yeah, to wrap up the show, let's just drop a bomb here.
Yeah. So Natalie Ryan is suing the Pro Tour, the PDGA, and the organizers of the OTB Open.
Thousand Rated Productions.
Yeah, Thousand Rated Production for violating California law. You
want me to give my summary?
Yeah, that would actually be great.
I watched the video on it yesterday.
I was going to read the Ultimate article, but Trevor watched the discgolf.law video, which you can find too. You can also find the complaint in this Ultimate article. You can find the actual official complaint. So
basically, what is happening here is Natalie Ryan is using California civil rights law to use this complaint because California has different law that protects gender expression and identity under their protected classes. That's something that California does. There's not a lot of precedent for like the athlete side of this thing. A lot of like other states, for example, protect student athletes or work against them even. But this is kind of unprecedented for a pro transgender athlete. What you're having here is she is using that to basically say that she should be able to compete in the OTB Open. And then she's also complaining and looking for punitive damages based on the idea that she was targeted by this policy that was created. And she's looking for monetary damages based on her potential loss of income and also based on humiliation, embarrassment, basically all of that as well. So there, from what I saw from the discgolf.law analysis, is there are kind of two facets to this situation right now. There's a lot to happen still. Number one, you have the defense of the Pro Tour / PDGA, which could be to just move the event outside of California, right? Like that could be a defense potentially that could simplify things. But then maybe the bigger question in this case is, could the court find that the PDGA and the Pro Tour were targeting Natalie Ryan specifically with this, and then what implications would that have? So what this case probably doesn't mean from the OTB, like the OTB thing was kind of just like more of a side part of this case, it seems like to me, because like if that event only has to do with California, so like that doesn't really, if that part of it were like overturned and she was allowed to play in that event, that to me doesn't really change anything, because the Pro Tour next year could just not have an event in California if they wanted to solve that. But where the implications of this case to me sit is the idea of was she targeted, and then does that allow her to force an overturning of their policies? I don't think so. What it might mean is that they owe her damages potentially. But that's where everything sits right now. And it's just in the complaint stage right now. We haven't seen what could happen. I don't know. It's kind of like the other lawsuit where it's like, what is Natalie Ryan's end game? Is it just to collect a payday, or is it to try and end up back on the tour? Because that to me seems very grim. I don't know. I'm halfway tempted to have my boy Chris Clark back on my show again and talk over it, because it's crazy. We got back-to-back lawsuits.
Yeah, back-to-back weeks.
Like,
back-to-back
what
lawsuits.
in the world?
Did Natalie Ryan in the complaint mention the two different policies from the PDGA, or do you know that?
Yes. It was. I believe it is mentioned. Either Chris Clark mentioned it or it was mentioned in the complaint. But in my opinion, the strongest attack against the PDGA here is that they decided to adopt two different policies. One, that's where like the targeting claim comes for, is like they have a whole different policy for their Elite Series and major events versus just their A tiers, and they're almost contradicting themselves.
Yeah.
Like, why does if their whole point of their policy was fairness, why does only this part of the game need to be fair? So like that to me does not look great. And we said that from the beginning, and that's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out.
That was like one of the first things we said on that when the PDGA laid down the hammer with this ruling. We were like, the two different rules makes zero sense, because like if you're saying this is fair enough for an A tier, why isn't it fair enough for the Pro Tour? And if you're saying, oh no, it's got to be this to be fair enough for the Pro Tour, then you're basically throwing A tiers to the side and saying A tiers aren't as important in the PDGA's eyes.
Yeah, that is where this gets interesting.
Now, how that means legally, like, no clue, because I don't know anything legal-wise. What is interesting, too, though, is Natalie Ryan is currently prepping for the Memorial Championships. I believe it's this upcoming weekend, an A tier. So she's going to be playing in an A tier based on those A tier rules from the PDGA.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'd be very interesting to see where this ends up, how it all goes. It would suck for California if they got their if the Pro Tour and the PDGA were like, oh, let's just move the OTB Open, and then like we get comments about like, is the PDGA going to spend like more? Is Pro Tour going to be in California more? It would suck if like
that would be wild.
If the Pro Tour and the PDGA were like, okay, our best defense is to move the OTB Open out of California, and then California has no Pro Tour events.
Yeah,
that would just be a sucky side effect of the whole thing. Obviously, that's not what any of this is about, but we get that comment so much that I was like, can you imagine if like that was like one of the PDGA and Pro Tours push? Like then you'd have a whole different pushback.
That's what I need to ask Chris about the most is like, what does Natalie look for in a settlement situation? Like, is she willing to just take a payday and just go away, or is she really looking to get back to the tour? And like, I don't see that happening in some kind of settlement or even like that to me says that it could have to go to trial.
It'd be interesting if maybe what she's coming from, I don't know, this seems like a little bit of a stretch to me, but like maybe it's something where if she can prove that she can play in the OTB Open, then maybe there's some way somehow that like, if the rule can't apply to the entire tour, it can't apply at all.
I
don't know.
Here, well,
it would be, because if her end game is just the
if it's just to get a payday, then that could be over and done with very quick. Then that could be a
settlement that this never goes farther. But from what I've seen with like the GoFundMe and her Instagram posts and stuff like that, I would be surprised if all she wants is a payday.
Yeah,
that would be surprising to me. But it could be like maybe that's all that her legal team feels that she can get.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting one to keep our eyes on. We did expect this one to come at some point. So
I kind of forgot about it.
This was a lawsuit that we did expect. Last week's lawsuit we didn't expect at all. And this is initially, she's just filed a complaint against the PDGA, but that is the start of
What
the
we do
lawsuit.
have now is two lawsuits, which means that we have now twice the chance of one of them actually going to trial, and I'm going. If one of them goes to trial, I'm going.
The tough part is this one will probably be in California.
I don't care.
All right.
I don't care.
Trevor will be there.
I need to be there. I need to be in that courthouse. I have to witness history and cover it for the people.
Yeah. Well, so this is going to be another fascinating one to see how it shakes down. Because the other thing, too, that I had the question of is, obviously she's filing a complaint against the PDGA, the Pro Tour, and 1000 Rated Production, which is the people behind the OTB Open. But to me, like, the PDGA, the targeting claim with the PDGA makes sense because the PDGA has the two things. Mm-hmm. The Pro Tour just kind of adopted the PDGA, so they only adopted the one rule. Mm-hmm. So, but they also, the Pro Tour had no say in making the rule as well.
Yeah,
well, from the outside looking in.
On paper, yes.
Outside looking in. And then 1000 Rated Productions,
they're kind of just like,
they also have no say.
Right.
Like it's for me, the PDGA, like that argument, I can see it makes sense, but then you get one step out of it with the Pro Tour, and I'm like, I wonder if the Pro Tour can get out.
Yeah, I don't know how.
And then you get one step farther with 1000 Rated Production. I'm like, I wonder if they can get out.
That's one thing I'm not sure about.
That's where I don't know legal stuff as to like how they have to all be tied in, or is it a situation where like they're all tied into the initial complaint, but then it ends up being mainly like, I wonder where the strongest case is, I guess is what I'm asking. But
I don't know how that works.
It'll be a fascinating one. We'll keep you up to date as much as we can as stuff comes out about this one and the Prodigy v. Burr.
There are going to be some crazy like side storylines. And here's the thing, that Prodigy v. Burr hearing is supposed to be on Friday,
March 3rd.
I think, yeah.
Yeah.
So
the second hearing of that. So we'll hopefully
get an update maybe.
Hopefully next Monday we'll have some form of update with the Prodigy case. I don't know what the next development will be for this Natalie Ryan case.
It's
but
exciting.
It's interesting. It's very interesting. We'll have more to talk about this season than ever before, it seems like. So you want to stay tuned if you want to keep up to date with all of that stuff. And obviously, thank you to everyone who tuned into the preview show. We've heard some feedback. We're going to make a few changes to continue to up the quality. But, that's going to be a great spot to watch before the tournaments happen. And then, obviously, you'll have Grip Locked after every event. So
we both predicted the winners. So what does that tell you? If you want to know who
went
wins
2 for
every
2
event, then just show up to the
That was a
preview.
hot start. Calvin and Kat. Boom, boom.
Was it that crazy of predictions? No. But actually, getting the MPO winner,
MPO one was tough.
That's impressive of us.
Yeah, I almost had Kyle Klein snuck into my top 3. He finished in 4th.
Yeah, that would have been pretty.
I almost had 1st and 3rd in MPO and 1st and 3rd in FPO.
You're goated.
So I'm on a hot streak right now. Don't fade me.
Don't
fade Trevor. All right.
Don't do it.
We'll talk to you again next week.